So we decided to call the electrician, or an electrician, and I didn't want to work with the original electrician because they weren't very accommodating. And all they seemed to want to do was replace the breaker. And so I looked on the internet and found a local contractor that seemed to have good reputation. And he came out here and he actually tested the wires.
I found several shorts and they kept coming and going. I found shorts over here in this outlet, that outlet, that outlet. Came back to this one, it was gone, and it just kept coming back and forth, and I'm basically pretty confused as to what was going on.
He checked all of the wires in this room and all of the wires in the bathroom, and he said, well, most likely it makes most sense that the home run would be in this box in the hallway. So he checked the hallway. He was getting a little resistance in here on occasion, but then it would go away.
I opened up everything, tested everything. Before I opened up everything, there were shorts all over the place. After I opened up everything and put everything back, the shorts were gone. So I thought, you know, I luckily found it or cleared it by accident, and put everything back together, turned the breaker on, everything worked just fine.
And then it fixed the problem for a few days. I called him and then called him again and called him again, and I wasn't getting a response. So I was very frustrated, needed action, because we were putting our house up on the market. And so I went and called another contractor, recommended by a friend of mine, and they told me over the phone, just replace the breaker, just swap it out with an old style breaker, and not an AFCI, just a regular standard breaker. And I said, well, I can't do that because I'm putting my house up for sale and it has to be to code. And so I called another contractor and he said the same thing. Well, if it was my house, I'd just put an old standard breaker in it and forget the AFCI. And I said, but I can't do that because it's 2005 code that we have to have those breakers in here, and my house is going to be up for sale and it's going to be inspected. I need to have the AFCI breaker in here and I need it to be operating. Looked up on the internet and found another reputable contractor in the area. And he seemed to have some documentation blog on his website about AFCI breakers and trips. So, well, maybe this is my man. He asked me over the telephone, what's the problem? I told him my breakers were tripping when I would switch. He said, well, it sounds like you might have bad switches. And he comes in and replaces the switches in here, in my bathroom, in my powder room, and while he's replacing the switches, he goes, I bet you that first guy that came in, or the second contractor, I bet you he checked the light, or tested the wires for continuity or resistance. I'm like, well, yeah. He goes, that's not going to do anything. You got a switch problem. And as he was leaving, the contractor 2 pulled up. And he said, oh, I'm sorry I didn't call you, but I heard your voice messages just today and thought I'd just drive over to see if you still had problems. And he asked, well, what'd he do? I said, well, he switched out my switches. And he said, well, that's not gonna work. Call me if this doesn't work. I said, all right, appreciate it. And so then a couple days later it didn't work. Now I got 2 guys I can call.